All right. Hello, everybody. We are live at the moment. We're just going to give our networks that we're streaming to a bit of time to get up and running.
Get everything all synced.
All right. Looks like we're live on YouTube. And I haven't got Periscope, so I don't know. I assume we're live on there.
Yep, I see the YouTube thing, but don't know about anywhere else.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 86 of the Blind Tech Guys. Marco Corralejo here, hosting the show, which is very unusual, isn't it, Mr. Kurt Manwaring?
Yeah, it's different.
It's definitely different and a new beginning. So, what's been going on here, I hear you ask? Well, we'll go into that in a moment. Let's talk about what's coming up on the show today. So, to kick things off, we're actually devoting our show to Clubhouse and Club Deck this week. It seems to have just taken off pretty crazy.
Exploded,
hasn't it?
yeah.
Oh, man, it's just gone nuts on Android. Absolutely. I think we're going to get, how you say, a lot of new people from some part of the world. Yeah. Come onto Clubhouse.
You like?
You like? Yeah, very good. So there's a couple of interviews. We've interviewed Pierre and Philippe from Clubhouse. From Club Deck, I should say. And they're the developers of Club Deck. And I've also spoken to Neil McCullough, who's quite well, I'm sure, known by a lot of our UK listeners and probably by a lot of people around the world as well. He's into accessibility, very much so. Very much a Clubhouse advocate, as you'll find out when you hear his interview. And he had a really fun chat with Neil during the week regarding Clubhouse. Besides that, following that, we will then be going into Spotify, Kurt.
That's right.
I think you're doing a demo this week.
I'm doing the demo I was supposed to do last week, yeah.
Yeah, about bloody time. I mean, that's fantastic. Awesome stuff there, Kurt. So, Spotify demo from Kurt from an accessibility point of view on Android. And just keep in mind, listeners, that most of the stuff is very similar on the Android and iOS side, I believe still. Is that not correct?
Yeah, the apps are laid out pretty much the same, so.
Pretty much the same. So, what you'll get is, you're going to pretty much get on both platforms anyhow. Then we're going to go into the Did You Know section, where we're going to talk about this week's Did You Know. We're following on our settings series, which is notifications. Lovely notifications and do not disturb. So that'll be really handy, especially if Kurt starts pinging me whilst I'm
Right.
doing that little demo, which I'm sure you will, Kurt. Thank you very much.
I might do that.
That would be appreciated. Then we have a whole bunch of emails to get through. We've got one from Italy. We've got a couple of others from various parts of the world that have come in, and also a form submission, so we'll get through those. And Kurt, if you wouldn't mind handling that side of things, that would be awesome. And I'll do the form submission there that we've got, as I've already got it up on screen.
Perfect.
And that'll be it. So it's going to be a damn long podcast today, Kurt. So make sure you got your popcorn there. I don't know if you've got have you got your weed today?
Oh, not today.
Oh, okay.
We're tough and through sober this time.
Well, that's good to know. And the other thing that we'd like to say, obviously, is that you've probably noticed that a third individual that was on the pod is not here. Very sadly and unfortunately, Nima has decided to leave the podcast for various reasons. And obviously, we're going to greatly miss Nim from the podcast. He's certainly a wealth of information and, definitely going to be missed from the show.
Yeah, big shoes to fill there.
Yeah, absolutely. So whatever project Nim gets up to going forward, I'm sure that if we hear about it, we'll definitely mention that, because he's definitely a wealth of information on the IT side. So good luck to whatever you're doing, Nim. Thanks for, it's been, a year and a half that he's been doing the podcast there. So
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you to Nimmer for all the work you've done putting everything together and getting everything, situated.
All right, so I'm just having a look through here. Wilma Ferreira. Hello to you. Glad that you're out there listening. Wilma, welcome. Welcome to the show. All right, well, let's get this party started, as they like to say. We're all the news articles that we've got a bunch of them, and thanks, Kurt, for providing those. They will be included in the show notes, because as it is, this podcast is going to go quite a long way. So we're going to pop those in the show notes. Anyone that's interested in any of the tech stuff that's been happening throughout the last week, check out the show notes for those to come out. All right, I'm just going to try and get this. I'm just going to mute you there, Kurt, and I'm going to share my screen. And Kurt, you can hear me?
I can.
Hear my jaws? Excellent. You can hear my jaws as well?
I can.
All right, fantastic. All right, let's kick this show off with the Clubhouse and Club Deck interviews. Really awesome people that I spoke to. Neil McCullough from Clubhouse, when talking about all things to do with Clubhouse and accessibility, in a fantastic room that he runs on there. As well as on Club Deck, we spoke with Pierre and Philippe, who are the developers of Club Deck, and I asked them some pretty hard questions about monetization and how they're going to keep the app going, considering it's not associated with Clubhouse. So let's kick it off. Kicking off this episode of the Blind Tech Guys, I'd like to welcome Neil to the stage. As we're talking about Clubhouse, Neil, welcome to the stage, my friend. How are you?
I'm not too bad, Marco. How are you?
I am very well. Getting a little cold, but that's all right. Sort of getting into our winter here.
Well, we should be getting a little warm, but it's not really
It's not
happening yet. We're getting too much rain.
Well, isn't that usually what happens in the UK?
Where I am, you know what? It's not usually too bad. We get pretty hot summers here. Like last year, we had 37, 38.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah, that is warm.
We did all right.
Now, Neil, let's start off with, well, I guess most of our listeners, I suspect a whole bunch of our listeners are going to know who you are, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and where you fit into the whole space of Clubhouse?
So my name is Neil McCullough. I used to be a big part of Blind Tech Support back in the day. For any guys who know that particular website, I used to do a lot with sort of Android podcasts, etc. I have worked with accessibility with the RNIB. I worked with companies over here like Sky and the bank NatWest, etc. Sort of done a few little bits and pieces with Google. And at this point in time, I have kind of thrown myself into Clubhouse just because I really like the concept. For me, it's a great way of meeting with people, expanding your network, if you like. And also, it's a lot of fun. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't fun.
Well, it's quite interesting. I've just thrown myself in a Clubhouse over the last week. As you may or may not know, I'm an Android user. So, of course, that app has now become available to us on this side of the pond. And I've got to say, it's definitely, in my mind, a very good networking opportunity. But you have to use it in the right way. In that, I think it's very important that you follow the right people, or what you would consider to be the right people to make it work best for you. Would you agree with that sort of summation?
Clubhouse is sort of a microcosm of life, if you like. So you get all sorts on there. But usually what you find is that the genuine ones sort of rise to the top, if you like, because you can put anything in your bio, and with other sort of social media platforms, you can pretend all day long that you're something that you're not. But if people come to Clubhouse and do that, they will get found out. And then when they get found out, they get called out. And in a very public setting like that, which, some of this is, word gets around. Because there is actually a community on there, despite what people think, that, like to look out for each other. And if something's good, you're going to hear about it. And if it's not so good, you're also going to hear about it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you put it in that way, and I completely agree. Let's get into the sort of ins and outs of Clubhouse for anyone in our audience, and there's quite a few people, I'm sure, that don't know much about it. So do you want to tell our listeners a little bit more about what the app is and what it does, and perhaps a little bit about how it works?
Clubhouse is, to put it in its simplest terms, chat rooms. When you have set the application up, you are put in what is called your hallway. And in your hallway, as you scroll down, you have all these different rooms with conversations that are happening live. And you have the ability to drop into any of these conversations. When you join, you are simply a listener. If you want to take part in a conversation, you've got the ability to raise your hand and be invited up on stage by any of the moderators. And then you can say your piece. Each room is sort of moderated very differently. There's a lot of different styles and people do things in different ways. So you have to learn maybe how to read the room a little bit, or whether they taking people in order, or whether it's a popcorn style room, which means, you can just sort of chive into the conversation. But as cluttered as that might sound, a lot of it is sort of well organized, and the mods in a lot of instances don't let the conversations get out of hand. So people do have the opportunity to have their say, put their points of view across. If you find a good room, you can have a completely different point of view to someone else, but you will be heard and it will be debated, and hopefully in a respectful way.
I think a good way that I like to put it is organized chaos in a sense with some of the rooms. It all seems to sort of fit together relatively well in the end, if you get my drift.
Look, it's an interesting concept. The thing that fascinates me is that so many sighted people have taken this to their hearts. And I would say for anyone from our community coming into the application, you are stepping into a sighted world. Now, you can stick within your own VIP community if you wish, but there's just so much more of a broader spectrum, and who you surround yourself with is the type of rooms that you're going to come across. And I'm not sure sometimes that people are necessarily grabbing that concept.
Well, working in accessibility myself and having spoken to you over the last few days, I'm certainly of a mindset of making sure that you try and broaden your horizons, I guess is the way to put it, but make sure that you involve yourself as much as possible, because there is a big, wide world out there. I do tend to agree. I think sometimes people do sort of keep themselves within their little corner, which is perfectly fine.
It's fine, absolutely. And I'm not saying anything against that whatsoever. But you are going to have then similar conversations on Clubhouse that you would on Team Talk, Discord, TeamSpeak, wherever it may be.
Oh, Team Talk, there's one from the past. So Clubhouse, I guess, for those that aren't really initiated to the concept, is what you make of it, in a sense of you have a whole bunch of interests. Maybe tell the listeners how they can go about sort of, when they first download the app and initializing themselves into the sort of sphere of the app. How do they go about that, and how do all the interests work, etc.?
Well, the interests don't really work at this present minute in time, but that is something that they are working on. But you do get the opportunity, as you're setting the app up, to choose your interests. Now, it's a little bit different on iOS versus Android at this present minute in time, though they're working hard to get the Android app up to parity. So I think it's a good idea to choose what you're interested in as much as you can whilst you're setting the application up. Because although they don't correspond to your feed just yet, this is something that they definitely are working on. They keep talking about it week after week after week, and they're improving discovery. And let's just remember, we are at this point signing up to a beta product and can hopefully help shape its future. So try and do that on Android. At this point, you have no opportunity to skip that and then go back and add your interests. I think that's something that they will fix very quickly. In fact, by the time you get to listening to this, they maybe will have. But as we're recording this, it cannot be done. And then you will be selected with a screen where it suggests people you follow. Now, you have the opportunity to accept all of their recommendations. You can select them manually, like sort of one by one. And if you tap on that, then you can skip altogether and then just start adding people that you know are on Clubhouse. I'm not going to tell someone to either do it or not do it. What I will say is the people that you follow start to make up the rooms that you see in your hallway. So you want to follow people with your interests to make your experience as good as it possibly can be. So be picky about who you follow.
I think that's a very important point, Neil, because if you just follow everyone and every single friend that you have, you're not going to necessarily see stuff that you may be interested in, or it might pop down the bottom where you won't see it necessarily. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, exactly. If you follow someone who, does a lot of cooking, for example, and puts room up in regards to cooking, and you don't like cooking, you will see that in your hallway because that person has maybe started the room or they're in the room because that really interests them. So you've got to, make it what you want it.
Yeah, and I think that's important. I think people that sort of look at the app and say, oh, it's just a whole bunch of random rooms and people going on about nothing. It's vital that you follow the right people and the interest that you're interested in.
That is just on Android.
That is just on
iOS.
Android. Yeah, that's right. So just keep that in mind. This will probably be released in the next couple of days, so they may or may not have fixed that. But it is important to pick your interests initially, just to get yourself started. Neil, you're sort of working, and I first found you on the app in a room where you talk to newbies predominantly, I believe, about using the app. I guess, what are the sort of most important things to sort of keep in mind when a new person starts using the app? What are the things that you should be looking for? And I guess, things that are important to master.
I think it varies, okay? Because I think some people come here with a fair understanding of what the application actually is. And some people have heard about it, but they know very little about it. So they just download it and all of a sudden they're just thrown into this world and they're like, oh, what the hell's going on here? So yes, there are welcome rooms run every day at 12 p.m. That's UK time. Now I am lucky enough to be part of the community club. And in the end, really, that just happened because I went to one of these welcome rooms not long after I had joined. And I liked what one of the guys at Braxis was doing in there, and the way he was just sort of explaining things, because the way he sort of put it across. And when I joined, lots of buttons were unlabeled, but because of the way that it was done, it was easy enough to follow. So, I got up on stage and asked a couple of my questions, whatever they were at the time. And then I got to thinking, and there is a lot of interest about accessibility on the platform. So I reached out to him and I sort of said, look, I would like to start doing some accessibility walkthroughs for those with screen readers. And I said, everyone talks about how things are inclusive. And I said, the thing is, I could set this up on my own, but I said, everyone else comes into, these community club rooms to do the walkthrough. And I want it to be as close to that experience for someone who struggles with a visual impairment. Because I said, to me, that's inclusive and it shouldn't be any different if we can help it. Now, would you be interested in running rooms with me? And he was all for it, absolutely. And we've been running a room under the 15% club and also under the community club. Community club, at this point, I do on my own with another couple of people. When we do the 15%, I do it with Abraxas and Samhar primarily.
And that's where I found you. I think that was under that particular club, I believe. And I have to say that that room that you guys run is excellent. For anyone that's new on the app and you just want to spend a little bit of time learning more about the application and actually listen to individuals that are really, really impressive about the way that they put things across. Abraxas, yourself, I forget the lady's name. Is it Samir?
There's Samhar, and there's
Samhar.
Dr. Marion, and there's Aiden, and Sapora.
Absolutely brilliant the way that you guys put it across, and you guys definitely helped out hugely when I first started last week, actually. So hats and everything else off for you guys. That was fantastic. The way that you guys run that room is brilliant.
Yeah, look, I think we've learned a lot from each other. I certainly learned a lot from those guys when I initially went in there. And Samhar. And we talk about inclusivity all the time. Well, Samhar is fully sighted, and Samhar has dived into what voiceover is, how to use it, how do we use it. She was fascinated by it when we started doing the walkthroughs. And now the Android app's been released. She's even got herself a Google Pixel, and now she started to tackle TalkBack. And for me, this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted it to be inclusive because if things are ever to change for us, we have to start educating people. And even if one person takes a look at a screen reader and how it works, then they've got a little bit of knowledge to pass on to someone else that they might bump into one day. And if not even, they just have an understanding of how we get about. When I go in and the room you certainly met me in, that was not a specifically accessibility run through, but being there, I find it, I am not the only one who can answer accessibility questions, because it's not someone from our community that's answering them aside from me. This is someone who I've had the privilege of meeting through the application, who was interested enough to find out how to do it, and they can give a lot of the answers I can now. And for me, that is awesome.
Well, I did go into a couple of other rooms, but by far, I have to say that yours was the easiest to actually find information out quickly and in a pleasant way. Abraxas, especially, and yourself lead it all off, and then obviously followed by the ladies further down the track. But he's impressive, Abraxas, I've got to say. He just manages to describe things perfectly, and I'm gather he's not blind.
No, that's exactly why I reached out to him, Marco. What he did helped me, even with all those unlabeled buttons. And now, of course, they're fixed, because that is one thing I do want to emphasize. Despite what people may have heard, and of course, sometimes things do get broken, not just from an accessibility standpoint, by the way, but sometimes things will get broken. I've never seen a team, and bear in mind that this is an extremely small team, I've never seen them turn the application around so quickly once they realized what was going on, how we used the app, and what needed to be done. So they have been brilliant and committed.
Now, I gather the team are obviously a small team, and I have to agree that, I mean, even with the updates that have been going on behind the scenes over the last week, there have been improvements, and I'm sure there's going to be even more improvements on the Android side. But like you said, the iOS side, because I do have an iOS device as well, that's certainly moved forward in the last few months, because like you said, initially it was just a whole bunch of unlabeled buttons, and it was quite painful to, well, to be honest, I didn't even bother opening the app much at all, because it was just too annoying to use. But they've certainly moved forward, haven't they?
They very much have. And hats off to them, because, they've made our experience a lot better. And hopefully, through this as well, they're learning too.
Now, I have to ask, what are the most common questions that you think new users would probably be wanting to ask, especially people that haven't actually used the app? And somebody might be listening and saying, I might give it a go, but how do I get around, and what do I need to do? What do you think that, how should they approach it initially in terms of learning the app?
I mean, I would definitely say go to a walkthrough room, because as a starting point, that will give you a general idea of where you are. And after the walkthrough, there are questions and answer sessions, and you may have questions yourself after listening to the walkthrough. But you'll also find that maybe someone will ask a question as well that you haven't thought of, or maybe a question that you had thought of that gets answered for you. I think one of the big questions we always get asked is, how do I gain followers? And I think for me, for the first couple of weeks, and this is the way that it sort of gets explained in the walkthrough, and this is how I did it. But I just went into rooms. I just tried to find rooms that I was interested in. There is a nice search function where, you can type in interests and such that will come up under people's profiles if they have. So if I was interested in football, for example, you can either search for clubs or people. And if someone's interested in football, it will pull that from their bio. And obviously there are clubs set up that are all to do with football. So I would just find the types of interests that I was interested in, basically. And then I would go into rooms. And if it was a good conversation, I would ask to sort of go up on stage and then just get a bit of a conversation going. I think initially, yes, it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but it works. And the thing is, you will gain followers. If you come here and you add value, you will get followers. The thing I like about this, it's a social media platform, but it's nothing like anything you're used to. You will get out of this based upon the work that you put into it. So if you put time going about and involving yourself and introducing yourself to people and adding value, you will get the followers, which would lead me on to my second point. Is a lot of people are a little bit nervous about how you start a room and how do I attract people to that room, because you can start rooms of your own. And I'll get onto clubs in a minute, but you cannot initially set up a club as a new user. You do have to participate a little bit. And it's nothing crazy, but over, say, the space of a week, if you participate a reasonable amount, then you will be able to open your club. But if you get followers, when you open a room, provided your followers have notifications turned on, then they will get a notification that says you have started a room, and it will ask them if they want to join that room. So essentially, people will join the room from the followers. And remember, if you've been adding value to their conversation and they think, oh, such and such, that's cool, let's go in and see what they're doing, they will show up. And then if you get someone up on stage who's entered your room, not only will the people who follow you know about it. But once that person gets up on stage, their followers then get a notification telling them that that person is in your room. They're up on stage and they're talking and ask, do they want to join the conversation? So it's kind of a snowball effect. And then you may gain followers from that. And the one thing I say to people, when you open rooms, if it's slow, and invariably it might be, it was for me. When I opened my first room, I was talking to myself, and it really did not do me any good confidence-wise, but I just thought, you know what? I've been told this is what might happen. I'm just going to keep coming back. And I kept coming back, and I was consistent about the time and on the days that I did it, and you gain traction.
And I think it's important that listeners know that obviously if you are adding value, people are going to see that. They're also going to see whether you're being fake about stuff as well pretty quickly. And like you said earlier, that's going to be something you probably don't really want to do because it's going to be made fairly obvious fairly quickly.
And if you open a public room, and just for example, you're being crude or whatever, or people in your room are being crude, a public room anybody can join. And if you're a moderator in that room, then that room is a reflection of you. So just be aware of that. If you are looking to branch out into other communities, meet people that you don't know, because it is a real thing. And also, if you do come on the application and you invite someone via one of the invites, your name will appear on their profile. So if you bring someone to the app that is going to be a troll, and I think you were there the other day, Marco, actually, when a troll did come in. So if you bring a troll onto this app, and there are plenty of them, then you will be linked to that person. And that may reflect to you.
Absolutely. And also might reflect that you might get your account, well, it might end up being suspended, I suppose.
It has happened before where someone did come on, nominated by someone else, and they started being racial. And not only did the person get banned, but the person who nominated them got banned. And I think, as harsh as that might sound, it also hopefully helps to sort of keep integrity of the app a little bit. And it seems to work.
Well, it's never going to be a perfect system, is it?
No. And it's social media. And there's probably somewhere between 20 to 30 million people on there.
That's quite a decent number when you consider that it's just an invite system, eh?
I think the invite system is not quite so much of a thing now, because if you have a club, you can promote your event and you sort of get a link with 1,000 invites. So, things have the ability to grow very quickly now. And obviously, as far as Android coming into play by Friday of this week, which I believe is the 21st of May, the app should be worldwide on Android, albeit in an invite basis.
Wow, I can just imagine that there's going to be a lot of countries come on board, especially those potentially in the subcontinent and areas like that. I can just see it really taking off in that part of the region.
Absolutely. India is a big one, for example, because they have a lot of Android users. And I know you Aussies are crazy about your cricket. I like my cricket as well. So there is a cricket club on there. And when India were playing England, there was usually 50 to 60 people in there sort of talking about the game as it was going on. This is one of the cool things. That was happening in real time. Now, there was no stream there. You had to sort out how you watched it yourself. But these are the kind of things that happen. If there was a major breaking news story, for example, you can be damn sure that there'll be a room about it. And that's for saying you don't put up one yourself. So a lot of things that happen in the moment, you can get involved in. And it is definitely not unknown for, you guys, and I don't know too much about it, but you guys and Facebook had this argument about journalism on Facebook.
Yes, indeed.
A conversation kicked off on there with one of the journalists from your way, right? And someone from Facebook found out about the room, and in they came, got up on stage. They actually ended up having a conversation, and it all ended pretty cordially. Now, the thing is, where else would you get that?
Yeah, well, you definitely wouldn't get that on any other medium.
Getting in now is a great thing, because if you're in as part of an invite, although there's a lot of people there, you're still early. You still have got the opportunity to build. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to build when I came here. I just knew that I wanted to network.
Well, that's pretty much what I've got on the app for as well, as to network. I'm still trying to work out exactly where it's all going to lead, but I'm only 1 week in, so I think I've got a little bit of leeway to go yet.
Oh, sure, absolutely. But in the meantime, you're getting to the point where you are participating. You are getting yourself to a place where you can then set up a club when it becomes available. And they did say it's going to be this week, so hopefully that'll come for you. And then you've got to decide what you want to set that club up about. And just so everybody knows, you can set up 2 clubs per month, and clubs are a great way. Like if you have 2 completely different interests, and I sure do, that do not relate to each other in any way whatsoever, you can set up a club under each of those interests. So it's a great way of defining what your conversation is going to be like on a given day.
Setting clubs up, if you want to just sort of explain how that process works.
Well, I say roughly a week, right? I don't want to put that out there too much because it's dependent on the amount of participation. If you sit on there for a week and you don't participate, you end up opening no club.
Well, let's go into the clubs element, Neil. How does that work exactly, and how do sort of listeners go about opening up clubs for those that are maybe thinking about it, haven't really delved into it? How does that all sort of come together?
So as I mentioned before, when you come to the app, initially, you cannot set up a club. What they want to see is that you're actually going to participate, okay? Now, I don't work for Clubhouse, contrary to some people's belief.
Are you being paid for this advert? Hello?
No, look, I am just an advocate of what I get out of Clubhouse. So we don't know exactly what the criteria is, but what I will tell the listeners is if you participate within, say, a week, just as an example, then you will be able to set up a club.
Excellent. And obviously you mentioned before that you can set, is it 2 clubs maximum that you can set up for yourself?
No, it's 2 clubs per month.
So that's to stop people just randomly starting clubs here, there and everywhere, I suppose.
Yes, it is. I think what I would say is to set up more than 2 clubs, right? That in itself may seem like a damn good idea, possibly an exciting idea. But I haven't really seen a social media platform that can grow as quickly as Clubhouse. And I got to tell you, as someone who works within 2 clubs, it's a fair bit of work. So, you have to make sure that you've got the time to do it. And I would probably suggest set up 1 club and see how you go, because as you put yourself about and gain followers and then you get people coming to the club, you're going to want to make that club an engaging space for people to come, because then they'll tell other people.
That also, and yeah, exactly, and they'll tell other people, but also you want to add value as well. I think if you start to spread yourself a little thin, I can imagine it would be quite a bit of work, especially if you start getting hundreds of people involved. That will take a bit of time.
It takes a bit of doing. So yeah, I would personally start off with 1, but you can start off, you can have 2 clubs a month if you wish. So at the beginning of after a month of setting up your 2 clubs, you can set up another 2, and so on and so on. There doesn't seem to be any limit, but I think people just limit themselves once they see the work that goes into it.
Well, also, if you've got 10 clubs going and then 1 or 2 of them start to become a little bit higgledy-piggledy and people start to realize that you're not really adding value, you don't really want to sort of go down that rabbit hole either.
And you're going to ruin your own experience as a consequence.
For listeners, and I know quite a few people who, for whatever reason, don't seem to really think that the app's going to last. They're wondering why the app would last. There's no monetization. What are your thoughts on that side of things?
I think as far as monetization, Clubhouse will be looking after themselves. I ain't really going to go into that because it's not my thing to go into. Monetization doesn't bother me about Clubhouse, though. They've been valued at $4 billion. I don't think anybody knows whether the audio space is going to last forever, but I would say to anyone who thinks that it isn't going to last, why is Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, Discord, Slack, just to name a few, trying to get in on this space if they don't think it's got anywhere to go? Facebook, you could argue, for example, doesn't need to, but they see a big advantage in it because of what's happened with Clubhouse. So my question would be, well, why won't it last? And why are these companies investing heavily in it that already have their own infrastructure and do things their own way? Why are they so heavily investing in audio if this isn't something that's going to happen?
And I'll tell you now, I'm very happy that audio is being invested into, having been involved in podcasting for many years. It's wonderful that people are actually interested and want to be involved in something like this. And like you mentioned earlier, it's amazing how many sighted people are involved in this.
Well, look, it's a sighted app, right? We are the minority. It's not like a Team Talk, Discord server that you might give out. We are very much in the minority. And the other thing I'll say is, though, radio has lasted. That's just audio. You listen to a podcast, that's just audio. So why shouldn't interactive audio work? And for me, it does. I'm not trying to convince anyone, but for me, it does. And if I didn't think it was going to stick around, I wouldn't invest so much of my time into what I'm actually doing on the app, aside from the welcome rooms.
And I think the wonderful thing is that you do get, again, this comes back to the interest that you pick and also the people that you follow. You do get some really interesting rooms where you can actually learn quite a lot. The possibilities are endless, aren't they?
They're completely endless. You will be hard pushed not to find a conversation going on somewhere in Clubhouse about something that you'd be interested in. It's so diverse. It's ridiculous.
Neil, it's been an absolute pleasure. I know that you've got a fairly busy morning ahead, and it's been somewhat difficult to find a mutual time to meet, actually, but it's worked out really well. Is there anything else that you wanted to add? And I always say this to our listeners, and we do when we chat to people. Is there anything else that you wanted to add or to leave listeners with a takeaway of the app?
Look, I would just say try it and see if it's for you. I've seen introverts and extroverts on here. It works for everybody. People, it brings you out of yourself. Don't be frightened to start your own room if you come. And don't be frightened to get up on stage in other people's rooms. That is how you do it. And just conduct yourself in a reasonable manner, because if you don't, you won't last. And as harsh as that sounds, that is the very thing when you come that hopefully will make your experience a good one. And look, if anyone needs any help, my username is Force of Nature, all one word. And one of the things that we do on there on a Friday night is I've set up a club called the Irish Pub.
Yes.
Yeah.
I knew this was coming because it's one of my favourite things as well.
The idea behind the pub is that there is an Irish pub wherever you go in the world. Now, we do live performances in there. Sometimes we have open mic nights for people who want to come up and perform. You can even win yourself an Irish Pub t-shirt if you get through to the final and are successful.
Is this made by you?
The t-shirt? No, I have got someone who decided they were going to help me and save me the embarrassment of trying to put a t-shirt together. And again, this is someone that I just happened to come across by fluke on Clubhouse. Like, a lot of this stuff that's happened is purely accidental. Like, we were in that room, we were playing one night, and one of the Clubhouse team turned up in there, and we ended up playing to 1,600 people at one point. Don't know why they chose to come into my room, or our room, because it's myself and Ali, that's my wife, our co-founders of it. But yeah, they did, and it's kind of gone from strength to strength. So this is the thing. You don't know who's going to turn up in your room. We had a guy in there the other week who was actually on the US Voice, and he came and performed on Friday. I have the winner of the UK Voice coming to perform and do a set in there. She won the Voice UK in 2013, and she's going to step up and do a performance for us. So, like, the opportunities are endless here if you're prepared to put yourself out there.
Are you paying these guys the big bucks or something, Neil? What's going on here?
This is just a great explanation of the community within Clubhouse and the fun people are having with it and the lengths they will go to, hopefully, to provide other people with fun.
And that's why I think we're both sort of encouraging people, just, look around, get out of your comfort zone a little bit. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to get up on stage, but look beyond the usual things. Well, Neil, I will let you get on. I know you've got preparations afoot to the meet and greet of the newbies coming up in the next little while. Again, thank you so much for coming on to Blind Tech, guys. Really appreciate having you come through. And thank you again.
Absolute pleasure, Marco, and thanks for inviting me. And thank you for popping into the room, because that in itself is a happy accident. We'd never have met otherwise.
Indeed, no, we would never have met. So, and I'll probably pop in again this evening, depending on what the subject matter is. And I always find it quite interesting. Usually I'll just have it in the background these days, and it's nice company whilst I'm doing the dishes or something.
and again, that's what a lot of people use it for. They will just go and listen. So yeah, have fun.
On this episode of Blind Tech, guys, I have the great pleasure of speaking to the developers of an app called Club Deck. Now, I know that a lot of our listeners are certainly very interested in this app. I'd like to welcome Philippe and Pierre. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello, Marco. Hi. Thank you for having us.
And thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me this evening. What I'd like to do first is just get a general introduction from you both. So I'll start with you, Pierre. Just tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself and exactly what Club Deck is.
Yeah, sure. So I'm 41 years old. I live in Paris, in France. I've done many things in my professional life, I would say. I started out as a banker for a number of years, and then I got fed up I've always been interested in technology, and I've actually done a lot of side projects with Philip here. And so about 5 years ago, we decided to start our own business. It's actually an insurtech company, so it has nothing to do with Clubhouse or Club Deck, but we started a new company in the insurance space with a new model. It's a pay when you drive model, entirely on mobile, a mobile app. And a few months ago, we discovered Clubhouse by accident, I would say. And so we jumped in there, and we realized that it was a very interesting social, audio network. But one thing that we thought was missing was actually tools for content creators to provide good content and interaction. By that, I mean that if you are only using the iPhone app or soon the Android app, it's very difficult to do fun stuff like play with a microphone, an external sound card, browse, people's profile, have a good interaction on stage, knowing who to invite on stage, how to basically have a good room dynamic. It's very hard to do from a small screen, and it's purely a limitation of the screen factor, the form of an iPhone. And so with Philip, we thought, how about we created a desktop app for Clubhouse? And the idea behind this would be to create an app which would be targeted at kind of power users in general. So people who would like to be able to browse Clubhouse and find interesting content and, just generally enjoy Clubhouse from the comfort of their desktop. But also an app which would give power features or superpowers to content creators, because we could certainly talk about that later on, but we think that for Clubhouse to succeed, you need to have good content, and you have to have good tools for content creators, and that's what Club Deck is all about.
Before we go into that, Philippe, I'll bring you into the conversation and just ask you the same question as I asked Pierre there. How did you become involved in this project, and what brought you to Club Deck, I guess?
Yeah, I myself, I'm based in Barcelona in Spain. I've been living here for the past 5 years. I started my career in the telecom sector, mostly in France. And as Pierre mentioned it, well, we've known each other for almost 25 years now. We had different career paths, but I think we met at some point where we wanted to try some side projects, and we've experimented on a lot of things for about 10 years until we decided it was the perfect moment to do that full time. So that's how we created together this company We Love a few years back. And I think we got this. It's something that's with us and has been with us and will always stick to us. The fact that we like to try, experiment, and being, I think, geeks, older geeks now. We've loved to the idea of Clubhouse. We've experimented it on our iPhone, and we thought, hey, why not try this on the desktop computer? Since we basically spend our days coding behind our computers, we thought it might be a good way to try and experiment Clubhouse, and we've been playing around with it, and we said, hey, there is something behind having Clubhouse on a desktop computer, and I think it just started from there, playing around, experimenting, and we realized that there was a potential for an app that would provide users with extra features that a phone cannot give you.
That's fantastic. What I am wondering is, Club Deck affiliated in any way with Clubhouse? Do you work in conjunction with them, or is it a separate app itself?
It's a totally separate app. We don't know them actually, and I think they don't know us. We only started 2 months ago, so we're fairly new to Clubhouse itself, and Club Deck itself is pretty new. We haven't been in touch with them. It's not a huge company in terms of number of people and stuff, but it's they draw a lot of attention, and so it's probably not very easy to get in touch with them. So we just like Philip said, we thought we'd build something that people would want, and that we would do our best to iterate based on the feedback we get from our users. And maybe potentially at some point, the Clubhouse people will notice us, and that would help us very much in developing new feature and having access to various APIs and stuff. But so far, we know we have no contact with them and not part of Clubhouse itself.
And is Club Deck open source? Is the code freely available to the public or not?
No, it isn't. The reason for that is first because we would probably need to do some tidying up before we show that to the public. We are developers, by trade. That's our job, and we're fairly, proud of what we're doing. But at the same time, open sourcing some code needs to, you need to have it very tidy, and people need to be able to understand it very easily. And at this stage, this is not the case. So that's one reason. And the other reason is we don't necessarily want people to, build upon Club Deck to build something that would be against Clubhouse's terms of service. So we'd rather have it in closed form right now and make sure that everything you do in Club Deck is in agreement with their TOS, and so that we can preserve a future relationship we may have with them at some stage.
Has there been any thought by either of you gentlemen in terms of accessibility for blind and visually impaired people? I have noticed when I have played with the application, there has been some thought, I guess, in terms of making it accessible for blind and vision impaired people. Have you had much communication in that regard from people with regards to accessibility and making the app more accessible?
Well, in the first place, to be perfectly honest, that's not something that we had so much in mind. The thing is that we've received some feedback from users who said that there is thanks because Club Deck turns out to be fairly accessible, which was a good surprise, and I think that motivated us to make it even more accessible because simply because it helps people. It's and we can do it. Actually, we realized that we could provide this kind of feature, and that makes it even more relevant, knowing that people are benefiting from that, and they are giving us feedback, encourages us to do it even more. So that was one of the good surprises, I think, of Club Deck for us, because I think it's the real time that we've really been working on accessibility as one important component of the app.
What Philippe is saying is very right. At the beginning, we weren't, we just tried to implement the usual best practices, but not all of them. And we didn't necessarily have accessibility features in mind. And that was probably because we thought we weren't good enough, we weren't savvy enough to be able to build a fully accessible app. And actually, a lot of users got in touch with us. There's a huge community of blind users who've got in touch either by DM on Twitter or via email. And we love to iterate based on feedback. We absolutely love that. That's the way we work. That's our bread and butter. And so when people got in touch and said, you could maybe potentially add more shortcuts, you could potentially add more headings to the app, we started to experiment ourselves with screen readers, and it's been really difficult. And I think we do realize how this is a skill. This is something that needs a lot of time to teach oneself. And so it was really interesting for us to try and view the app from the eyes of a screen reader and then change things around so that it became progressively more accessible. And we're very happy with that. We've got tons of feedback on a daily basis from blind users saying, at last you've implemented such and such feature. It's now much easier to navigate, and it makes us really happy, frankly. So, and we'll keep doing that, I think, in the future, and we keep getting feedback on that topic.
What was the sort of inspiration behind Club Deck? Because obviously one of the things that I sort of think about is you guys running separately from Clubhouse. What would keep Club Deck going if Clubhouse all of a sudden came along and said, well, we're going to release a desktop app ourselves?
That's a very good question. And the answer is probably we don't know. I mean, we're doing, Club Deck started out as a very small side project. We just put it out there, and a number of kind of prominent content creators on Clubhouse starting using it and providing feedback. And so we realized that there was really a need for that. I'm not too sure Clubhouse is currently working on a desktop app. You know, you've seen that it's taken them a long time to come up with the Android app, and the Android app is still not at par feature-wise with the iOS app. I think there are a number of months, possibly years before they start looking at desktop. And I think from a strategic point of view for Clubhouse, it is very important for them to provide a tool for power users. And I kind of include the blind users in there because, you know, you guys use many shortcuts and use the proper headings and stuff like that to jump from section to section. And that's exactly what a power user is doing. And so we think that there is still some room for us to grow in there. Maybe at some point, Clubhouse will think that they should build something like that. I don't know. Maybe they'll get in touch with us. We don't know as well. But it's, for now, we don't really know. It's not a business per se. It's just a side project. We love it. We love the fact that we get tons of feedback, and that's what pushes us forward. So to come back to your question, the answer is, as long as we get some feedback and that users are enthusiastic about what we're doing, we just want to give back and to build upon that feedback. It's a joy when you build a tool that is used by thousands of users and where you have the possibility to interact with them.
Well, that gives me clearance to ask the question that I was just thinking of, and leads quite nicely into the next question. Is Clubdeck a project that you can monetize? Is this something that you guys are doing just because you want there to be a desktop app available for people? Is there room to monetize in this sort of space?
There probably is room to monetize. I think the content, that all links to the creators economy thingy, that a lot of people are talking about. And on Clubhouse, they're trying to, Clubhouse is going to monetize at some stage. We don't know how, but, it reminds us probably of the likes of YouTube and things like that. So monetization will come at some stage, or has already started to come in Clubhouse. For us, it's, there's a running joke. It's been running for 25 years now with Philip, where we love to say that we like to build things and not make any money out of it. It's also, we take a lot of, developing an app, believe it or not, is a creation act in itself. It's not art. I wouldn't say it's art, but it's certainly craft. And so we like crafting things and building things and creating things. And we like also the fact that it gives us the possibility to have conversations with people we'd never have conversations with in the first place, and to discover new use cases and things like that. And it makes us grow as persons, not necessarily financially, but at least intellectually. So that's our approach.
Now, let's go through a few things that the Clubdeck app can do. So obviously those listeners that use Clubhouse would know a lot of the features available, but why don't one of you, or both of you, if you'd like, talk us through what the Clubdeck does and how it works and how it can be used on a PC or a Mac computer.
Basically, it's the first step is you have to download the app. So we have a small website for that purpose, which is clubdeck.app, and from there you can either download the Windows or Mac installer. And it's you're just a couple of clicks away from having it on your desktop computer. Once it's installed, you'll have to log in to your Clubhouse account. So the workflow is very similar to that of the mobile apps, which is that you give your mobile phone, you receive a validation code, and you're on board. So Clubdeck is not meant for you to create an account on Clubhouse. It's more a companion app when you are already a member of Clubhouse. As it works just like any other Clubhouse account, meaning that when you log in on a different device, you get logged out from the previous one. So if you're logged in Clubdeck, you'll get logged out from the mobile app and vice versa. So it's just plainly the Clubhouse way of handling things. And once you're logged in the app, well, you'll get a window with all the suggested channels, basically. So you have a column with all the suggested channels by rooms by Clubhouse. And from there, you can you can either join a channel, which is the main action that you would like to do, and or create a room with the same features as the ones that are available on the mobile app. So you can make it private, open it to your social network, or make it public. And if you do so, you are by default a moderator, and you get access to all the let's say the power features of Club Deck. So before we get into the details of these features, what you also get is a search bar, which will allow you to either find a room, a club, or directly people. And pretty much everything is clickable. So you can click on any room or profile or club and get contextual information on the item on which you clicked. So it can be the number of followers, the members of a club, and you can deep dive on each of the features. So for instance, you can click on a club, see who the users are, and then click on each of the users, and that will open an extra window. The idea is that on the screen it will open panes whenever, or tabs, if you will, whenever you click on one of the features. So you can easily see who follows who, get access to the bios, and at the same time listen to the room or moderate the room, whatever role you are having at the moment, and leverage the let's say the fact that you have a bigger screen, and you can fit more features in it, and make everything accessible by clicks. Now, if we want to move to the specific features of the room, maybe I'll let Pierre talk about these sections.
Yeah, so when you're a moderator, you have access to a number of features, which are the typical, Clubhouse features. So you can mute and unmute your mic, you can ping people into the room, you can change the hands permissions of the room, like allow everybody to raise their hands, or just your followers and stuff like that. So these are the kind of fairly standard features. The only thing is that you have shortcuts for a lot of these. So for instance, if you want to mute or unmute your mic, you just press Control and M at the same time. Things like that to make life a bit easier. And now if you dive into the specific Club Deck features, you can select the input and output of your of what is going to be streamed into Clubhouse. That means you can plug an external microphone if you want to have, high quality audio content. You can also even use an external sound card or a virtual sound card, like Loopback or Blackhole or softwares like that, which makes it very interesting, because then you can stream, in addition to your own voice, you can stream external sources, like an instrument, or Spotify, or a YouTube, the sound of a YouTube video, and stuff like that. So it's really powerful to combine and to try and bring a bit of third-party sounds into Clubhouse on top of your own voice. You can also stream audio effects directly. So we allow you to upload MP3s and audio files, even download audio files from a YouTube video directly into Club Deck, so that you can we have moderators who use Club Deck, who would use a kind of a bell sound, or transitioning, or jingles, or things like that, to make the room a little bit more lively. So it's a feature which is widely used. You can also do some recording very easily. It's just a click of a button. You can start recording the room and save it locally on your hard drive.
Now, I was going to ask you about the recording side of things, and I'll bring that up now before we go on further with your description. So I noticed that the quality of the recordings is of not a very high, what I would call sort of, premium sound. Is there a reason why the files are the quality that they are?
So unfortunately, it's a limitation. It's a Clubhouse limitation. The underlying audio engine they're using is Agora. So it's like the streaming service they're using for audio. And although we do use the highest quality setting in Club Deck, there is no way to make it better, unfortunately. And that's, I guess, it's probably because Clubhouse is meant to be usable even in rooms with thousands of people and dozens of people on stage potentially speaking at the same time. So I think they had to do some trade-off on audio quality there, and the live recording and the quality of the stream we get and that we can record is already set at the highest possible. But we're always having keeping an eye on the APIs and whether we could improve that further. But it's by default. It's linked to the way Clubhouse is made.
And continuing that discussion regarding the recording, so Clubhouse doesn't automatically push the fact that you can record, and users generally are encouraged to make it very clear in the room description that they are recording. Is that something that you guys are able to get around? And do you encourage users to do the same sort of thing? Because obviously it isn't really one of the Clubhouse policies to record conversations without advising users.
Yeah, so it's actually it's not exactly this. If you look at their terms of service, if you do record and share that externally, then you have to have the permission from everybody on stage, from everybody who's been speaking on stage. So that's, for instance, if you're a moderator and you have this idea that you could potentially record your podcast live in Club Deck, in Clubhouse, and a number of our users are doing that, then yes, you have to make it very clear in the title of your room, for instance, you're using, REC or whatever sign you want to use to make it clear you're recording. If it's for your private consumption, it's not against the terms of services. You can, even on the iPhone app, you can record. You just launch the screen recording feature and you can record and nobody will know about it. And that's fine. It's just for your personal usage. It's just in terms of redistribution, if you put that content out there for anybody else to be able to access it, then you have to have speaker's permission to do it.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring that up now, because it's very important that if you are doing a podcast or you're looking at running some sort of a room where you are going to put that audio out on YouTube or somewhere else, that it is important that you actually let everyone know in the room that you are recording, because that's definitely a big no-no on Clubhouse if you don't.
And you were mentioning YouTube. That's a good segue into our next feature, which is the streaming feature. We've actually integrated Restream.io. So I don't know if you know about that service.
I certainly do. Yes, I know of them.
So it's basically all many podcasters know them, but it's basically a service which allows you basically send them a single audio feed or maybe potentially also video feed, and then they restream it automatically to more than 30 social networks. So you can restream your recording onto YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, wherever, LinkedIn even, so Twitch. And we've integrated that into Club Deck as well. So if you do have a Restream.io account, you just need there are a few settings that you need to put in place, and then it's just like for recording, you press a button and the room will be streamed wherever you want. Again, coming back to your point, you need to, as a moderator, you need to have made that very clear for all the speakers on stage that the room will be restreamed elsewhere. But it's another power feature that a lot of our users love, because it gives them the ability, recording gives them the ability to turn a Clubhouse room into a podcast very easily. And restreaming gives them the ability to widen their audience outside of Clubhouse and potentially attract people into Clubhouse, by saying, if you want to join into the conversation, just log into Clubhouse and join our club or our room.
Sure, and I guess it also allows people the opportunity to come up on stage and have a point of view, etc., which then goes onto a podcast and involves their audience a little bit more as well.
Yeah, and we can maybe talk about that later, Philip. about, we had, like kind of famous podcasters in France who are using Club Deck and who have started to record their podcasts live into Clubhouse, and it's completely changed the dynamic of the podcast itself by allowing them to invite people on stage, which they wouldn't have had, in a traditional podcast. The other features is the transcription one. There we did a partnership with a company called Otter.ai, so that's OTTER.ai. And what they do is that they're able to do a live transcription into text. So that's speech to text transcription. And again, just a click of a button from Club Deck and you will get a nice transcribed text out of your room. And the final, there's another, there are two other things actually. They are room statistics. So with the click of the button again, you can open a pane with the statistics of your room. So how many users are there, how many speakers, how much time it's been running and stuff like that. And there's also a feature to use like social chat, like Telegram or WhatsApp, if you want to set up, for instance, a back channel with other moderators. Right now, there's no way for moderators to have a conversation on the side or to coordinate within Clubhouse. Whenever they want to say, up to you, you can speak now, maybe, discuss how they want to, the next topics they want to touch upon and stuff like that. So we've integrated that within Club Deck so that with the click of the button, you can have a chat in there and directly chat with your co-moderators, for instance.
Now, I did notice that there are a few things obviously not in Club Deck. Are they features that you are slowly going to roll out? For example, I'm thinking of creating a club and things like that. I don't believe you can do anything like that in Club Deck. Is that correct?
That's correct. You can't create a club yet. You can manage your club once you have one. You can do everything from there, like moderating, members and adding users, setting up events for your club and stuff like that. That's one missing feature, which is creating your club. We haven't had time to look into it because we've been so much focused on accessibility over the past few days. But that's something we will be adding at some stage. We want to be, at parity in terms, feature-wise with the official Clubhouse application.
And I guess for the listeners out there, just so that you realize if you haven't played with Club Deck, obviously you offer high quality streaming as well. Yeah, so it's definitely more than what you really need, to be perfectly frank. I mean, normally podcasts go at 128K, so very decent quality audio that you can certainly generate. I guess it's a bit of a shame in regards to the recording side of it. It's not quite to that level, but I guess if you're into podcasting, you can probably work out how to record audio elsewhere and get it to your podcast. Were there any other features that you gentlemen wanted to discuss in particular that are of interest to users, and also any other plans that you can talk about that are upcoming?
One of the very nice things about, I think, Club Deck and the Clubhouse community for us was to see how much feedback we got and how easily it was to interact and get direct recommendations, requests, questions from the various users, which allowed us to enter into a very interactive mode of development, and especially one that is connected to users' needs, which is something very good, because as developers, it's easy for us to end up in a funnel and think that we are working on something that will be very useful, spend a lot of time of it, and then realize that nobody else cares but us. So that's something that drives us every day, I think, to get this feedback. So we have a very long feature request. So now the target for us is to prioritize it. Of course, as Pierre mentioned it, we want to keep at pace the features of the app. That's definitely something on the top priority. So implementing club creation, for instance, is one of the features. But we have other ideas, other requests as well. So what we should be releasing within the next couple of weeks, possibly next week, will be an embedded chat system, which will be directly linked to Club Deck, which will allow you to even more easily chat with with other members without having to create an extra or use a third-party service. So we'll have it more integrated definitely more integrated in the app. We also we are also thinking about enriching stats. Because we have access to much more detailed information regarding the what's happening in the room. It's not just who is joining and when, but it's also how much they're talking, how they are reacting to the to what's happening in the room. If people are flashing their mics, for instance, if and when they're raising their hands, how long they are talking. These kinds of things, I think, makes it a very nice playground for to provide richer, I think, and statistics with the ability to do more in-depth analysis about what's going on. Definitely.
Well, I think those statistics would be sensational in terms of actually finding out who's coming in, who's going out, how long they stay, that sort of stuff. I hope there's a bit of consideration into that sort of thing, because it is important to know whether the audience is interested or not as well. So that sort of gives you a little bit more of a deep dive into what's going on in the room.
And for content creators, we think it's for people who would like to monetize their content. It's also very interesting for us, I think, to build that, because those people will be able to provide analytics to whoever is sponsoring their show, for instance, and say, on such and such topics, people are more interested. They were very active during that period, and so that's definitely something that will help quote unquote professional content creators in their life on Clubhouse, we think.
Now, I guess the question that was on my mind, and it's up to you, of course, whether you can or want to answer this question. You were talking about getting access earlier to the APIs from Clubhouse. So since you're not able to do that, obviously, because Clubhouse and Club Deck are two separate entities, how do you manage to then be able to create your product to fit in with Clubhouse?
We can be very transparent about that. There's no issue with that. We just reverse engineered the APIs. Basically, what we've done is we've looked at how the iOS app was interacting with Clubhouse. So for each interaction, and we've reproduced that one for one, like for like. So that's the way we did it. These APIs are not public. But once they become, we're pretty sure that Clubhouse will make those public, like Twitter did and many other social networks did. We're just a bit in advance in terms of having already discovered the endpoints and how the app is using it. We're just very cautious to use it exactly the same way as the official app is doing. In terms of rate limiting and stuff like that. And that's, coming back to your earlier question about why don't we open source this? The reason is, again, because we don't want malicious people to have easy access to those APIs and start building things that would be against Clubhouse's terms of service.
Yeah, it's interesting that you put that point of view across, because I'm very much, I have to say, a fan of open source software, and if you get the right sort of community behind you, you can definitely get a lot of help and assistance from your users as well, in terms of ensuring that the best product can go out there as well. So I am interested with your answer on the whole open source side of things.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, we would be open source advocates, but it works if you have I'm not going to say that Clubhouse's API and infrastructure is not robust, but I'm not going to say that it's 100% robust. Like, there are some ways, if you are creative and you know what the APIs are, you could be very creative in a malicious way. Let's put it this way. So you could manage to get tons of followers in very easily. You can do things like record every single room at the same time and do some things that bad actors would want to do. And so until Clubhouse make their APIs official, the reason why they haven't is probably because it's a small team, but also because they would want to be sure that it's robust and ready to be officially seen by the external world, if you see what I mean. So that's really the reason why we'd rather keep that closed for now.
I always like to ask, and when we interview people on the podcast, I always like to ask whether there's anything else that you would like to add besides the questions that I have put to you. If there's anything else that you'd like to talk about with regards to Club Deck or with regards to anything to do with what you guys get up to, please feel free to let us know now.
No, I just wanted to thank you again, because this is the fact that we know that the app is accessible, is something again new to us in a way that we, as Pierre said it in a very rightful way. It's we didn't think we were capable of doing that, and to know that that the app we are building is accessible, and that we know how to make it accessible is something very fulfilling, actually. It's and we want to keep doing that. So thank you for having us on this podcast, and thank you for all the feedback again.
And on my side, I'd say thank you also, and then the same thing as Philip. And if you guys are interested in Club Deck, just download the app. Just know that you can contact us. We're very, we try to read every single email and tweet, and to reply to everything, and to iterate on it. And also, if you want to follow the Club Deck Club on the Clubhouse, we're trying to build, this community of Club Deck users, which will make it probably a bit easier for us to gather feedback and maybe do some sort of town halls on Clubhouse, where we will be able to have live interactions with our users, because that's what we love to do.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. Just to repeat, of course, the website that you guys are at, it was clubdeck.app, was it? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Brilliant. And of course, you can download there the Mac version or the Windows PC version. And I noticed that you guys come up with fairly regular updates, because I looked about 5 days ago, and I think I was on version 1.3 something. I think you're up to 1.7 as of time of recording. So you definitely, you must be busy updating there fairly regularly, I imagine.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, well, it'll keep you both out of trouble. Pierre and Philippe, thank you so much for popping on to Blind Tech Guys, and definitely keep in touch. We love to hear back from our interviewees and how things are going. And if you'd like to come back on it at any time, feel free to come back on. And we're more than happy to have you both on the show. And I know that there's a lot of blind and vision impaired people out there that are very interested in this app, and a lot of blind people do tend to do podcasting and stuff. So I'm sure that you may well get some further feedback from being on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marco. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
That was Pierre and Philippe coming on to Blind Tech Guys to talk about Club Deck. All right, excellent stuff. So that was Philippe and Pierre there at the end with Club Deck. And of course, we had Neil McCulloch at the beginning there from the UK. And I'm just trying to see if you're there, Kurt. Just having some issues with my PC at the moment. Okay, let's maximize that. All right, Kurt, we have you back, mate. It looks like you might have. Dropped out.
Yeah, my internet.
Wow, you're very loud.
Oh, let's fix that here.
That adjust there. Keep talking.
All right, I'm still talking.
Okay, that's a lot better.
All right, how's that?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay.
All right, Kurt, let's go into your demonstration of Spotify. And I believe you've got quite a bit to say about the old Spotify.
I do
in your demo.
I do have some thoughts, yes.
Interesting.
So first, Ha! Here's a Telegram message I was in the middle of writing saying I'm backstage. So the first step is going to be to get out of that and say, okay, Google. Oh, she's tired of me. Okay, Google. Open
Google
Spotify.
Assistant. Tap to dismiss assistant. Open
Opening.
Spotify. Your recently played button.
All right. Now, while we were doing that interview, I was also looking at the iOS app, and it is, just to confirm, the layout and how you do everything is, for all intents and purposes, identical. There's like one or two little things that are different, but if you are an iOS user, the layout on the screen will be the same as I'm showing here. So I have the Spotify open now, and
Recently played heading.
now at the top of the screen, it will say recently played. The most important part of this app, kind of how you drive everything, is there's 4 tabs on the bottom of the screen. So I'll just put my finger on the bottom of the screen now.
Selected. Home. Tab 1 of 4.
So you've got Home tab, 1 of 4. I'll flick right.
Search. Tab 2 of 4.
Search tab, 2 of 4.
Your library. Tab 3 of 4.
Your Library tab, that's the 3rd of 4.
Premium. Tab 4 of 4.
And Premium tab, 4 of 4. So let me just explore this home screen first.
Recently played heading.
And now your home screen, after you listen to some music, will be a little different, little customized, depending on what you've listened to here before. So you're going to get a little glimpse into my musical tastes here.
Your recently
Now,
played
can we get a little bit more volume out of that talkback at all?
Yes, actually.
Google search. Show. Showing real people.
I will optimize my eloquence for volume.
L-U-U-E-S-E-E. Submitting to keyboard hidden. Eloquent. Clear at the top. ETI Eloquence TTS.
All right.
ETI Eloquence TTS.
Now, so I'm using the Eloquent speech synthesizer right now on my Android phone, one of the things I love about Android. And I don't have it optimized for high volume, but I can do that now. I'm in the Eloquence app.
Force language. Language. Sampling rate. Audio optimization.
I'm under Advanced Settings here, under Audio Optimization.
Audio optimization. Checked. Balanced. Audio optimization. Check. Optimized for quality.
And you've got Balanced, Optimized for Quality, and the one I'm going to flick to here,
Optimized for volume.
Optimized for Volume, and my screen will get a lot louder.
ETI Eloquence TTS. Audio optimization.
That's much better.
All right, there we go.
Spotify.
So let's go back into Spotify.
Spotify. Spotify. Search. Tab 2 of 4.
All right, so
Recently played. Heading.
I just went to the top of the screen with my little up-down gesture, which I had set to be go to the top. So it said recently played.
Your recently played button.
Now I can click on that to pull up a list of the things I've recently played on here.
Settings button.
I'm just flicking right here. The next thing is settings. We'll have a look at that in a moment.
Recently played Strap Technologies.
Oh, hey, I recently played a podcast from Strap Technologies.
Recently played Lovestrong. Made for you. The Get Up Aid made for you.
Now we have Made For You, which after you've listened to some things on Spotify, their AI algorithm will try and say things it thinks you might like.
The Get Up Aid brand new morning show from Spotify. Get your day started with news, music, and entertainment.
Okay, it thinks I might like this brand new morning show.
Daily Wellness, a mix of music and wellness to guide you through your entire day.
All right.
Daily Mix 1, Christina Perri, Colby Caleb, Voice Avenue, and more. Daily Mix 2, Metallica, Slipknot, Static X, and more.
Very different kinds of music there. So this is just to give you an idea.
Daily Mix 3, Kid Cudi, Lil Baby, Lil Keith, and more. Try something else.
Then you've got your Try Something Else heading.
Rock classics, The Beatles, Queen, Elton John, Metallica, AC/DC. 90s rock anthems, Nirvana, Red Hot. Today's top hits, Ariana Grande, Bad Bunny, Dua Lipa, Justin Bieber, The Weeknd.
All right.
00's rock anthems, Linkin Park, Metallica, Coldplay, Arctic Monkeys, AC/DC.
Now-
Show items 3 to 6 of 10.
Well, they must be cold if they're Arctic Monty.
Right.
Very good.
Yeah. So those are, and again, when you listen to more music on Spotify, it will kind of refine that based on what you've listened to. So I'm going to go back to the top of the screen now.
Recently played. Heading. Your recent settings button.
Go into the settings.
Home. Tab 1 of 4. Settings. Free account. Heading.
All right, so I have a free account.
Go premium button.
And of course, they want you to go premium, which actually, I'll talk about that in a moment.
Current. View profile. Heading. Data saver. Heading. Data saver sets your music quality to low, equivalent to 24 bit per s, and disables artist canvases. Message 801. Not data saver. Heading.
Okay, so I do not want that data saver turned on because I don't want my music to stream at 24 kilobits per second.
Data saver sets your music quality to low, equivalent to 24 bit per s, and disables artist canvases. Off. Switch for sets your music quality to audio only podcasts. Saves only the audio when downloading video podcasts. Off. Switch for
I'm
saves
just
only
flicking
audio
through
when
the
downloading
settings
video
here.
podcasts. Account. Heading. Email. manwaring.kurt@gmail.com. Playback. Heading. Crossfade. Allows you to crossfade between songs. Off. 12s.
And you see there are headings here, so you can navigate to different sections of the settings via heading, and it's the same in the iOS app as well if you have your little rotor.
0%. Slider 4 allows you to crossfade between songs. Gapless. Allows gapless playback. Off. Switch 4 allows gapless playback.
So that gapless seems to be the opposite of crossfade there.
Auto mix. Allows smooth transitions between songs in a playlist. On. Switch 4 allows smooth transition. Allow explicit content. Turn on to play explicit content. Explicit content is labeled with explicit tag. On.
I bet
Switch
you've
for
got
turn
that on.
to play-
Of course I have that on.
Show unplayable songs. Show songs that are unplayable. Off. Switch for show songs. Normalize volume. Set the same volume level for all tracks. On. Switch for set the same volume level for all tracks. Mono audio makes the left and right speakers play the same audio.
All right, I definitely don't want this mono
Switch
audio.
for makes device broadcast status. Allow other apps on your device to see what you are listening to. Off. Switch for allow other apps on
Yeah,
your device
I
to
wouldn't
see what
really
you are
want
listening to.
that.
Autoplay. Keep on listening to similar tracks when your music ends. On. Switch for keep on
Okay.
listening to similar tracks when your music ends.
I would like that.
Canvas. Display short. Looping visuals on tracks. On. Switch for display short. Looping visuals on tracks.
Don't really-
Looping visuals.
Yeah, I
Wow.
have no idea what that means, but I'll go ahead and turn that off.
Off.
And I just double tap on when it said on. You can double tap there to toggle off.
Devices. Heading. Connect to a device. Listen to and control Spotify on your devices.
Okay.
Show local devices only. Only show devices on your local Wi-Fi or Ethernet in the devices menu. Off. Switch for Spotify connected background. Allow Spotify connect to keep Spotify running when the app is in background. On. Switch for connect to apps. Heading. Navigation.
Alright.
Connect with navigation apps.
So it can connect to navigation
On. Always pay
apps.
full attention to the road and abide with all traffic regulations. Heading.
That sounds like an important
I
thing
love
if
the
you're a
way they
driver.
put that in there, you know, like listen to music, but please just concentrate on what you're doing, even though
Right.
you're listening to music. Yeah,
Seems
yeah,
like they're
very good.
trying to protect themselves from lawsuits,
just a
maybe.
little.
Car in.
Yeah.
Switch to car mode. When you're in the car, you'll see car mode. Drop down list. Only in the car. Keep app open on screen. Turn this on and the app will stay up on your screen while you're in car mode. On.
I don't really care about car mode here.
Start a private session to listen anonymously. Off. Switch for start a
Ooh,
private
you
session
can
to listen
turn on a
anonymously.
private session if you don't want them keeping your data about what you're listening to.
Listening activity. Share what I listen to with my followers on Spotify. On. Switch for
All
share what I
right.
listen to with my followers on Spotify.
Now, this is one of the advantages of Spotify is you can have followers, so you can have your friends know what you like to listen to, and then it's very easy to make playlists and share those with specific people. That is that's kind of the upside of Spotify.
I've got to say that is also available on Deezer as well. I'm not sure about Apple Music because I haven't used that for a
Yeah.
long time, but it's definitely on Deezer too.
Yeah, but who uses Deezer?
Hey, calm down. Hello, how you say? I can go remove microphone, you like?
Uh-oh. You're going to kick me off the podcast?
Yeah, no, I'll keep you around there.
All right. So, now we have this section for audio quality heading. Now this is where my issues are with Spotify. So you have Wi-Fi streaming.
You have issues?
I have issues, yeah. So I have Wi-Fi streaming is set to automatic.
Cellular streaming. Streaming higher quality over a cellular connection uses more data. Drop down list. Automatic for streaming higher quality over
Now,
a cellular connection uses more
it
data.
turns out, let me show you what happens when I try and change these settings on the free version. I'll double tap on this. I'll go
Slower. Faster. Links. Headings.
go back to audio quality here.
Heading. Drop down list. Automatic. Cellular streaming. Streaming. Drop down list. Automatic.
I'll
for
change
streaming.
the cellular
Top of window.
streaming.
Checked. Automatic. Low.
So there's low quality, which is like 24 kilobits per second.
Normal.
Their normal quality is only 128 kilobits per second, which is pretty much what you listen to this podcast at.
High.
Their high quality is about the same as Apple Music,
Very high.
and their very high is ever so slightly more data than Apple Music. Now, that's something you may or may not notice, depending on how you're listening to things. But I'll tell you what, even the Bluetooth on my Samsung phone can get up to about 600 kilobits per second, which means you are hearing more of what's in the song, and that's definitely something that I'm not very much of an audiophile, but I can notice the difference between listening in other music services like Tidal, or I guess Marco's Deezer, versus Spotify. It's very noticeable. I can hear more of the instruments. I can hear, even through my Bluetooth headphones, it's easier to tell kind of where things are instead of it just all being kind of in one place right next to my head. So that is my main gripe with Spotify is...
So what you're basically saying is that Spotify still doesn't offer lossless format.
That's right. That's right. It doesn't offer lossless or anything even close to lossless. And even their very high quality is just a tad higher than Apple Music. And
Very high.
let's see what happens when I try and change to very high quality on this free version.
Automatic. Settings. Drop down list. Automatic for streaming higher quality over a cellular
It won't let me change.
No, I think that's something that you obviously get when you pay.
Yeah, if you
I think the highest you can only get to is probably normal. I'd
That's
imagine.
right. That's exactly right. You can't go high or very high unless you pay. So if audio quality is your main thing when listening to music, again, for most people, I don't think it'll sound bad necessarily. But even over Bluetooth, where you aren't getting the full, lossless audio music experience, things sound noticeably better to me in some of the other streaming services. And then, of course, even better than that, you can plug in wired headphones to your computer and get the full lossless experience, but not on Spotify yet. In the news lately, we had Apple Music announcing that they are going to offer lossless. But again, to take advantage of that, you're going to need really a wired earphone or headphone connection.
Absolutely.
You're not really
Yeah,
going to notice that with the AirPods.
No. And even Bluetooth. I mean, you will notice it, but you're definitely not going to get as good an experience
Right.
if you really want one without using
Yeah.
wide.
But I will say, even with my Galaxy Buds, wireless earbuds, it sounds like I can hear the difference in Tidal versus Spotify. It's, it's not huge, but it's definitely there. So anyways,
Tab 404.
that was basically the settings. Then let's go
Library. Search. Tab 204.
into the search tab.
Tab 204. Selected. Search. Search. Heading.
Top of the screen, you have the search heading.
Button. Search for artists, songs, or podcasts. Voice assistant. Button. Button. Search for artists, songs, or podcasts.
Now that's interesting. It's a button, not an edit box. Let's see what happens when I push this button, though.
Search. Search query. Edit box. Showing Braille keyboard.
Okay, let's type...
ROYALTY.5. Royal space deleted. Royalty. FREE.
royalty free. Then I'll do a 2-finger flick up to dismiss the Braille keyboard.
Submitting text. Free. Keyboard hit. Clear search. Clear. Royalty free music. Twitch. Playlist. Context menu.
All right, royalty free music playlist.
Royalty free upbeat. Playlist. Context menu.
Ooh,
Let's go
royalty free
upbeat.
upbeat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tab 204. Royalty free upbeat. Playlist. Back. Multi-page view by Decon Winner 283 likes. Enlarge royalty free upbeat cover art. Button.
All right, so I'm just
Royalty-free
flicking
upbeat.
through.
Heading. Shuffle play. Button.
You can shuffle play,
Preview. Button.
preview.
Disappear. Take me higher cartoon. Why we lose disappeared on fire. You might also like Ultra Gaming. Pixel.
Oh.
Premium. You like select home. Tap electronic. Creamy. Pixel Garden.
I'm trying to find the
Ultra
play
Gaming.
button
You
here.
might also
That's
disappear,
interesting.
take, preview. Shuffle play. Button.
Maybe
So
if I
there is a
hit-
shuffle
Context
play.
menu.
Try
Button.
clicking them
Shuffle
up.
play. Button.
Yeah, well, I see the shuffle play, but let's see.
Mini. Now play view.
There we go.
Close button. Button.
To get 30 minutes of uninterrupted listening.
Oh, and look, it wants us to do Spotify ads.
Say you. Carl.
I hope these ads aren't copyrighted.
Think anyone will notice?
Well, we'll soon find out.
Enjoy the next 30 minutes of
Oh, God.
uninterrupted listening.
Yep. And I'm already paying for Tidal. I'm not going to pay for Spotify on top of it. Ooh, here we go. This doesn't sound very
I was
upbeat to
going to
me.
say, is this supposed to be upbeat? Wow.
Wonder if they were high when they put this playlist together or
It
what.
sounds
but-
like something you'd play, I don't know, if you're trying to fall asleep.
Played from playlist. Royalty free
upbeat.
Yeah, anyways, let's see what's going on this playing screen.
More options for song. Find new button. Find new heading. For URA heading. 016 313 313. 16%. Use volume keys to adjust. Slight
Oh, hey.
18%.
So you
Use
can...
volume keys to adjust.
There's that little
19%.
seat control.
Use volume. Like this song. Button. Previous. Button. Disable. Pause. Button. Next. Button. Don't play this. Button.
All right, so that's interesting. It goes like this song, previous, play, next, don't play this song.
Is available. Share. Button.
And then you've got the devices available, so if I wanted to play this on a Bluetooth speaker or something, I could do that, or,
Pause.
a smart assistant.
Next. Button.
Let's see if I can do my 2-finger double tap to pause. Oh, come on, Samsung. 2-finger double tap. All right, well, we have the handy pause button here.
Next. Button.
Next.
Pause. Button. Next. Button.
Jeez, I'll tell you what, I think they should rename this playlist.
Right, yeah, that doesn't
Wow.
sound very upbeat here.
It's not very good.
Now, the last thing I want to look at here,
Button. Button.
I'll go ahead and close the player, which was on the top left-hand corner of the screen.
Shuffle. Premium. Tab 4. Your library. Tab 3 of 4.
Let's go into my library.
Tab 3 of 4. Select. Go to profile. Your library heading. Search your library. Button. Create playlist. Button. Recently played.
Create playlist. So if I wanted to, maybe I'm getting to know someone and I want to make a playlist for them or something, I can do that there.
Show print 2. Button. Tips. We've upgraded your library. All your content is now remove. Button. Kid Cudi. Artist. Slipknot. Artist. Metallica. Artist. The cover art of the currently playing track. The cover art of the current Therapy. Daniel Allen. Next track. Washed out. Evade. Showing my Therapy.
Whoa.
Dan-
Ah,
Item number 3.
come on, pause.
Go to your library. Search your create playlist. Premium. Select. Search. Home. Pause. Button.
There we go.
Play.
So that pause button, if music randomly starts playing, is going to be on the bottom of the screen right above where those tabs are.
And of course, for anyone that gets used to using these apps, you can obviously feel around the bottom of the screen as you
Right.
can with both iOS and Android and just find the buttons easily. So it's one of those things that you don't have to keep swiping through. We're swiping through just to show you what's on the screen. You obviously get used to where things are eventually.
The cover art of the clay. Button. The cover art of the current. The cover art of the current. Premium. Selected. Premium. The clay. Button.
Yeah, and play on this one is kind of on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, right above where the premium tab button is.
Premium. Tab 404.
So let's just close this out in that premium tab button, which is in the very bottom right-hand corner.
Premium. Tab 404. Selected. Try premium free for 1 month.
Oh, it wants me to try premium free for 1
Ad
month.
breaks. Free. Ad free music. Premium. Play and shuffle. Free. Play any song. Premium.
Oh, so that's probably why it didn't want me to play
Yeah.
that.
6 skips per hour. Free. Unlimited
Ooh.
skips. Premium. Showing items 2 to 4. Streaming only.
Yeah,
Free.
so you're only
Offline
allowed a
music.
certain
Premium.
amount of
Best-
skips
best
in the
audio
free one.
quality. Free. High audio quality. Premium.
All right, and so you can get higher audio quality in premium, but again, if audio quality is your thing, there are better options, even over Bluetooth and especially over wired. So that was the Spotify app on Android. Again, the player is similar to on the computer, just not as many options for changing speed and going back and forth with keystrokes and all that, but pretty much the same functionality. And yeah, it's not my music app of choice, but especially for like social sharing, it does seem to be the most popular. So, I suppose it has its place there. But that is Spotify.
Indeed, thanks, Kurt. Yeah, I used to use Spotify a few years ago. I did go off it. I think some users a little while ago were complaining about some accessibility issues on the iOS side, and I'm not sure if they've ironed those out or not. Do you know anything about that at all? Or?
I do know that just looking in the iOS app a little bit today, it seemed like everything was fine, but I obviously haven't played around there as much as on Android. I'm happy to do that over the next week and, come
Well, if
back.
you find anything, let us know. Yeah, that'll be good. Now, Kurt, you reminded me, and it was very remiss of me not to read this out at the beginning of the show, but 3 years in the making, Strap is an innovative wearable device that fits over the chest and is designed to detect any type of obstacle. Strap's vast array of sensors work by sending real-time information that detects obstacles from your head, chest, and below your waist, including bumps, holes, and stairs. Well, I hope so. then then notifying you with haptic vibrations. Designed for all ages and shipped later this year. At Strap Technologies, we believe in that autonomy and independence are human rights, not luxuries. Our goal is to be the first replacement of the white cane, giving visually impaired people a well overdue hands-free experience. Now, this is the important part for our listeners, and just make this very clear, because we have had a couple of emails come through over the last little while, off and on. So you need to use the code BLINDTECH, and that's capital BLIND, capital TECH, all one word, when you go to the Strap website, which is strap.tech. So if you use that code, you can get 50% off the current Strap price. Now, the current price is at the moment $500. It was originally $750. It's gone down to $500. And with the code provided to you from this podcast, it will be then down to $250 in total. So pre-order today, pay $250, but at time of order, only pay $50. And then obviously once the device is ready and waiting for it to be shipped, you will then be charged the $200 thereafter. Now, just keep in mind, listeners, this offer is available only with this BlindTech code, and just to be fully transparent about it, Kurt, we are not gathering or gaining anything out of this at all.
That's right.
At this point in time, we are advertising the fact that Strap has provided us with a code to provide to our listeners, which is, of course, BlindTech, capital B, capital T. I'm not sure if that makes any difference or not. I think I entered mine with the capital B and T, and it worked fine.
Yeah, me as well.
So we're waiting for our devices to come, and obviously once they get here, we will do a demo of the device and hopefully not die in the process, which would be of benefit to...
Might be a fun podcast.
Could be an interesting one. So remember, strap.tech, put in the BlindTech, capital B, capital T, as the code when it asks you for it. Put in your details, blah-de-blah, and get the product there for $50 with $200 to be charged once the product is ready to be shipped. All right, let's go on to the Did You Know section, Kurt. And of course, we're continuing on the Android side, and we probably should have been a little bit remiss again that we aren't following up on the iOS side, but we'll do the Android side for now. We are going, of course, now just again to let listeners know, I'm using a Samsung S21 Ultra. And I am just making sure this is plugged in.
Device unlocked. 1341. Showing items 1 to 10 of 14.
Okay, so we're using a
Accessibility
Samsung
volume set to
S21
100%.
Ultra, and we have the following.
Brief.
So we'll
Reasons.
go into...
One
Oh,
UI
and
home.
just to let listeners
Settings.
know as well, we're using TalkBack, of course,
Settings.
to do our demos, not
Notifications.
commentary.
Included apps. All apps.
So we're doing notifications this week, which includes the Do Not Disturb feature. Now, it's going to be very similar on a Pixel or most other devices that you have. It will be fairly similar.
Brief pop-up settings. Included apps. All apps. Brief recently sent. Heading.
So
Back.
let's go back. I'll just make sure that I'm in the right
Marco
one
Paralejo.
here.
Notifications.
All right, notifications.
Navigate. Notifications. Search settings.
So this is going from the top of the screen, and hopefully the voice is slow enough for everyone to be able to understand. So we have search for settings, which we don't really need right here. Info. Now, I did notice that in the commentary screen reader, that was actually labeled as a button. It's not here. So let's double tap on that.
Conversations. You can set how notifications will show as they arrive. In the notification panel, notifications are grouped to make them easier for you to read at glance. Conversations. Ongoing conversations in your chat and messaging apps are shown on top, so you can get to them quickly. Alerting and silent notifications. Alerting notifications give you an indication when they arrive. Silent notifications provide useful info without interrupting you. You can tap an app in the list to see which notifications are set to alerting or silent and make changes. OK. Notifications.
And we'll
Info.
just click on the OK button. So that basically gives you a pretty good outline of what's going to be coming up in this.
Brief. Info.
Okay, so we go
Info.
after the info.
Notification pop-up style heading.
We have notification pop-up style heading.
Brief.
And
Detailed.
you can
Included
set
apps,
that
all
to
apps.
what you want it to be.
Included apps. All apps.
Included apps, all apps. Now, if you double tap on that,
Included apps. Notifications for selected apps will be shown as brief. All apps. On. Duo. On. Duo. Messages. On.
So you can go through all your apps in here
on. Telegram.
and
on.
turn
WhatsApp. On.
whatever you
Voice.
want
on
and
on,
off.
And play. Back.
Actually, that
Navigation.
reminds me, I've got to go and do that at some point.
Notifications.
So I've just clicked
Included
on
apps.
the
All apps. Showing
clicked
items
on
1 to
the
10 of
back
14.
button, and it's really nice that TalkBack actually keeps focus. So we'll go on,
Brief pop-up settings. Recently sent. Heading. Brief pop-up settings.
and we've got brief pop-up settings.
Brief pop-up settings. Navigate up. Brief edge lighting style. Basic effect.
So this goes through how it's going to look on screen for you.
Color by keyword. Show even while screen is off. On. Navigate up.
Okay, and that's all you got in there.
Notifications. Brief pop-up settings. Recently sent. Heading.
So recently sent.
Telegram. Just now.
Telegram, just now.
Ticked. Telegram. Clubhouse. 3 minutes ago. Ticked. Clubhouse. Friend locator. 4. Ticked. Friend. More. Do not disturb.
So we have all the, or you can
More.
look at all the apps that have sent you notifications through there. And that more button, obviously, if you double tap on that, will bring up more apps that you can look at that you've received notifications.
Do not disturb.
Do not disturb. Let's see what happens if
Do
you
not
double
disturb.
tap on that.
Navigate up. Do not disturb. Do not disturb is on until you turn it off. Do not disturb on. Schedule heading. Sleeping every day 23:00 till 08:00 next day.
So basically at the moment I've got Do Not Disturb turned on. I've got it set to turn on automatically from 2300 hours or 11 p.m. till 8 in the morning.
On sleeping. Add schedule.
And you can add a schedule. So
Exceptions heading.
obviously you can set up other schedules that you wish for when you require your Do Not Disturb to be on.
Calls, messages, and conversations. Some exceptions allowed. Exceptions heading.
So these are the exceptions. Now I have allowed exceptions. There's a few people that can get through even if Do Not Disturb is turned on.
Calls, alarms and sounds, alarms, media, and one more. Apps, none.
So I've allowed alarms and
Alarms and sounds,
bits
alarms,
and
media,
pieces to
and
get through there. Let's see
alarms
what's
and
in
sounds.
here.
Alarms and sounds, alarms on. Media sound on. Touch sounds on. Calendar events off. Reminders off. When Do Not Disturb is on, sound and vibration will be muted, except for the items you allow above.
Okay, so I've allowed certain
navigation
things
bar.
to go through because I like my phone experience to
disturb.
be the same
Alarms and
even
sounds.
when
Alarms,
my Do
media,
Not
and one
Disturb
more.
is on.
Apps, none.
Apps, I've got none.
Hide notifications.
And
Apps,
the last
hide
one is
notifications.
hide notifications. So let's
Hide
double tap on that.
notifications. Hide all on. Switch.
So I've got all notifications hidden is turned on.
When the screen is off. Heading. Hide full screen notifications on.
I've got hide full screen notifications turned on even when the screen is turned
When
off.
the screen is on. Heading. Hide when the screen is off. When the screen is on.
And
Heading.
when the screen is on,
Hide app icon badges on.
hide all app icon badges. I can't talk today.
Hide from notification panel on.
Hide from notification panel on.
Don't show pop-up notifications on. Disabled. Hide status bar icons on. Disabled. Critical notifications about phone activity and status will never be hidden.
Okay, so you can't hide those.
Navigate
And
up.
that's basically it. All right, so
Do not
that's
disturb.
that
Hide
done.
notifications. Navigate
We
up.
can navigate up on twice and go back
Notifications.
into the main
Do not
section.
disturb.
So that we've done Do Not Disturb. Let's go on.
Advanced settings.
Advanced settings. Let's double tap on that and see what we
Advanced
get.
settings. Navigate up. Advanced status bar. Heading. Show notification icons. 3 most recent.
Okay, so I've got mine set to the 3 most recent notifications. You can obviously change that. Let's see how that works.
Pop-up window. All notifications.
So we can have all
Ticked. 3 most recent.
3 most recent,
Number of notifications only.
number of notifications only.
None. All
And
notifications. Ticked. 3 most
that's
recent.
basically
Back,
it. So
navigate.
that's pretty self-explanatory. Let's go
Advanced
back.
settings. Show notification icons. 3 most recent. Show battery percentage on.
Show battery percentage on, and that comes up in the top right-hand corner of your screen.
Notification history.
Notification history
Conversations.
and conversations. So let's go to
Notification history.
notification history.
Notification history. Navigate up. Notification history off. Switch.
So I've got that turned off. I don't really care for, seeing that. That doesn't really worry me, but you can obviously have it turned on if you wish.
Turn on to see recent and snooze notifications. Scroll. Navigate up.
Okay,
Scroll.
let's scroll. Let's see what that
Navigate up.
does. I don't
Scroll.
actually know what
Turn
that
on to
does.
scroll. Navigate up.
Doesn't seem to do anything when you tap on it.
Advanced
I assume
settings.
that's just for you to
Notification
scroll
history.
through the notifications if that's turned on.
Conversations.
Conversations. Let's double tap on
Conversations.
that.
Navigate up. Recycle view. Conversations. Recycle view. No modified conversations. Touch and hold a conversation notification to mark it as priority or set it as alerting or silent.
Okay, so that's where you can change whether your notifications are marked as priority or silent. So that's quite useful, especially if you get pesky things coming in from Facebook or whatever else. You can turn that off, or Clubhouse or any other app that you don't want to hear from.
Advanced settings.
That.
Conversations. Floating notifications off.
Floating notifications is turned off.
Suggest actions and replies for notifications on.
Suggest actions and replies for notifications. I've got that turned on. I have thought about turning that off, but I've left it on for the time being, and it just suggests how you can respond to that.
Floating notification reminders.
Notification reminders. Now, this is one that
Notification reminders.
depends on how you like to use your phone.
Notification reminders. Cover off.
I've got my notification reminders off. Now, if you do turn that on, you will get
periodic reminders about notifications from selected apps and services. Clear notifications to stop the reminders.
There you go. That pretty much tells you what you'll get. So you can get reminded periodically. I choose to have that off because I don't need any more bells and whistles being blown whilst using my phone.
Vibrate when sound plays. Off. Disabled.
Vibrate while sound plays is off. I hate vibration on my phone, so I don't use it very often.
Remind every 10 minutes. Disabled.
And this is obviously going through now. Obviously, if you had that turned on, that first option turned on, you could set all of these, but these are all disabled.
Select apps to get reminders for 4 apps. Disabled. Navigate up.
Okay, that's basically it in there.
Advanced settings. Notification reminders. Off. Notification reminders. App icon badges. Off. App icon badges.
Okay, app icon badges. You can set the different badges for your
badges.
apps. Let's go
App icon
quickly go
badges
through
on.
that.
Switch.
That's turned on, although I should probably turn that off because I don't really need it.
When apps have notifications, badges appear on the icon. If you remove notifications from the notification panel, badges are cleared. App icon badges on.
All
Switch.
right, we're going to turn that off
Off.
because I don't
When
need
apps
that.
have badge style, heading.
I don't even know why that was turned on. But
Number
anyway,
disabled. Dot disabled. Notifications on app icons. Touch and hold the app icon to show the notifications. Off. Disabled. Navigate up.
right, that's just allowing you to set
Advanced
those
settings. App icon badges.
app icon badges.
Off. App icon badges. Wireless emergency alerts.
Wireless emergency alerts. Ooh, that sounds serious. Let's have a
Wireless
look and see
emergency
what's in
alerts.
here.
Alerts. Heading. Test alerts. Receive operator tests and monthly tests from the safety alert system. Not it.
Receive operator and test alerts monthly.
Emergency alert history.
I don't think I need to worry about that
Alert
too much,
preferences.
do you,
Heading.
Kurt?
Probably
Vibration,
not.
Ticked.
Nah.
Alert. Vibration. Ticked.
Vibration is ticked.
Alert. Test alerts. Receive operator tests and monthly tests from the safety alert system. Not it.
Ooh.
Alert. Vibration. Ticked.
I'll turn that off.
Off. Alert reminder. Never.
Good.
Speak alert message. Use text to speech. To speak wireless emergency alert messages. Not ticked.
Yep, don't need that.
Navigate up.
All right, so that's
I'm
turned off.
not
Settings.
ticked.
Wireless emergency alerts.
Mine always says
Navigate
not
up.
checked.
Advanced settings.
Oh, very good.
Navigate up.
All right, so that's basically it in advance. Let's see if there's
Notifications.
anything else in
Advanced
here.
settings. Looking for something else?
No, there's not. So that's basically a pretty lengthy, I do apologize, listeners, that was rather lengthy description of the notifications. So you can pretty much do anything and everything within there. I've got to say that it's definitely improved since Android 9 and 10, and particularly Android 10. It's definitely quite well done.
Oh, yeah.
The do not disturb, especially on Samsung, wasn't working that well last year, but that's definitely been fixed, thank God, because that was slightly irritating. But yeah, that's notifications at a glance in the Did You Know section. Of course, iOS has got something similar. Maybe next week, Kurt, we can quickly run through that.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that on the iOS side.
Awesome. All right. Now, the most important part of the day, Kurt, and this is where it's your time to shine, my friend.
All right, my time to sink or swim. All right, so we
Indeed.
have listener emails.
Yeah.
And just to let everyone know, if you have any feedback for us, you can either submit it on the form on our website, blindtechguys.com, or shoot us an email to contact@blindtechguys.com. Now, this first email comes to us from the great country of Italy. We've got Gabriele Battaglia. I hope I'm saying that right. I apologize if I am not.
Kurt, it's Gabrielle.
Gabrielle. Oh,
Gabrielle,
okay.
you have to say it.
Gabri-
Oh, that's not Italian. That's more Russian.
Gabrielle.
Gabrielle. Yeah.
All right. So, Gabrielle starts off saying, "Hello, super guys. I'm a pretty new one with your podcast. I joined the gang since episode 82. Anyway, please take all my congratulations. You're doing a wonderful job. Thank you, Gabriella. And thanks also because you allowed me to discover how to manage Google Calendar with NVDA. I'm a fan of calendars, and before of your show, I had to setting up my Google Calendar in Windows 10 native app, which is absolutely worst. I agree with you. It is absolutely worse. I was wondering if I can manage so well with NVDA. Another thing I love, notes, memos, and lists. I do everything with Google Keep under iOS, and asking to my Google Smart Speaker at home. But it would be great to have my notes under my finger with Braille display and NVDA 2 when I'm on Windows. I saw the page, and it's a link to the keep.google.com, and it seems inconsistent to me. A great hug in friendship. Greetings from Italy, Gabe.
Ah, thank you, Gabrielle. Just to let you know that yes, Google Keep is definitely very accessible on a PC. And actually, Kurt, let's try and remember to do a demonstration of Google Keep next week, because that's definitely one that does work very nicely. I use it quite a bit, and it's completely, very much accessible. Similar again to how you learnt and how Nima described the whole docs and sheets and everything else. There's shortcuts that you can use. We'll run through that next podcast, so make sure you're listening to 87 there, Gabrielle, and show you how accessible it can be. But if you want to initially play around with it, if you've had instruction from the past few weeks as to how to use the various other Google options, you can definitely use Google Keep in a similar way. But we'll run through that next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that question and for the positive feedback. I'm glad you're enjoying the show. Next email comes to us from Sweden.
Oh.
And that's going to be Maddie Jetkola. I hope I'm saying that right. I apologize there, Maddie.
She named after Cock. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it starts off, greetings from Sweden, with an exclamation mark. Oh. Thanks for a great show. I would have a question on accessibility of hardware internet radio tuners. Please see the following link to the music page of the Swedish Broadcasting Company. In Channel P2, they play classical music online every night. Can you listen to the online program in your internet radio tuner, for example, in Sonos Connect? As a blind person, I have never tried Sonos Connect or, I don't know how to say this one, Rotel Internet Hardware Radio. Rotel, okay. I know Sonos. I don't know Rotel.
No, don't know much about that.
Anyways, getting back to the email. But I have read comments on mailing lists that Sonos is accessible via app in iPhone. And then we have the link to the Swedish radio music channel.
Will you be checking out that one when you go to bed later on, Kurt?
I suppose I will.
Very good.
And then we have PS. As a comment of your last show, you had your screen reader synthesizers again in a very fast mode. Please slow down next time a bit with an exclamation mark. I'll listen to your show. Best regards, Maddie Jetkola. Sweden.
Sophos.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sophos app is rather, how you'll say,
annoying.
Rather annoying to get it all up and running. But once you get it up and running, it seems to work quite well. I know a lot of people complain about how long it takes to actually get it to work, and that certain things you have to keep clicking on it before it actually connects up. As to your question as to whether you can get that up and running, I honestly couldn't say. Not having really used it at all, and I haven't really touched Sonos for a long time, so it would be something that you would probably want to try if you know of somebody that's using it. Kurt, I don't know if you can add much more to the whole Sonos side of things.
So I have a Sonos One smart speaker, and I use the app. I love it for some things and hate it for other things. It's great for music, but it doesn't. I like listening to audiobooks, and it doesn't let me change the speed of the audiobooks with voice commands. I will have to check on whether that specific internet radio channel works. I know Sonos does have a Sonos radio, and anything that's accessible through, your Spotify or your Tidal or your Amazon Music. And I'm pretty sure TuneIn is there as well as an option.
Yeah, TuneIn's there too.
So anything that's accessible through those can be accessible on your Sonos speakers through the Sonos app. I do find it's a little better on iOS than Android, but actually, I feel like the most accessible way of managing it I've found is through the Sonos app on Windows. So that's what I have to say about that.
Have you managed to, or do you know whether it can be connected to Google?
It can be connected to the only issue is it can't be connected to Google and Alexa at once. So if you want to use both voice assistants, you have to go into the settings on the smart speaker in the app and switch from Alexa to Google every time, and it's really annoying.
And from what I've been told by somebody that has one, I believe that you can. There's certain speakers that you can't connect to Google, and there's some that you can. And
yeah,
I think it gets a little bit complicated. Well, probably best to have a look on the Sonos side if you're interested in that side of things prior to purchase.
Yeah, I know my Sonos One can handle both, but I typically stick with the Alexa just because it can connect to my Tidal streaming, and Google won't. But yeah.
Well, that was one of the reasons I actually gave Tidal away, because it was really painful to use Tidal with Google. Because unlike Deezer or Spotify or Apple, you can't, or Deezer and Spotify in particular, you can't. Well, you can easily ask Google to play something, whereas with Tidal, you've actually got to connect up manually.
Yeah,
so it's a lot of faffing around to get it to play. So yeah, that was one main reason why it went the old kish.
Yeah, Tidal definitely works better if you are in the Alexa ecosystem.
Interesting.
Well, we've got another one from Cecilia.
Hey, Cecilia.
It says, "Dear Blind Tech Guys, my name is Cecilia, and I'm hoping you can help me with a problem. I and another blind person host and produce 2 podcasts aimed at people with disabilities, mainly blindness. I'll put more information in about them after I ask my question. My problem is this. We have a sighted person who posts the podcasts both to our website and to Podcast Attic. He insists that a blind person cannot post podcasts to either Podcast Attic or our site. My co-host slash boss knows very little about technology. I know more, and I am ready and willing to learn more. So, do you know if a blind person can post to both a website and to Podcast Attic? If so, is it difficult? Is there a lot of code or HTML scripting to learn? We want to get our podcasts posted faster and in a more timely manner, but right now our hands are tied. Now to a brief explanation of the podcasts. The first one is called You're Not Alone. Yes, the apostrophe is deliberately left out. It's hosted by Pastor Dave Andrus. It runs about 9 minutes and is usually centered around a Bible verse and something that happens during the past week. The second podcast is called Room 4216, based on a Bible verse about...
It's based on a hotel?
I was wondering. Apparently, it's based on a Bible verse based upon those of us who are blind. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. Pastor Dave...
Maybe have a listen to that later on whilst you're checking out the, the classical music here.
Yeah, they might both put me to sleep. Anyways, Pastor Dave... Pastor Dave and I study different books of the Bible. You never know how we're going to tackle each passage. It might be a discussion, a drama, an interview, or even a field trip. It runs about 25 minutes, and we have a lot of fun doing it. If you want more information or to listen to either podcast, you can go to our website at www.not-alone.net. Thank you so much in advance for any help or suggestions you might have. Sincerely, Cecilia Lee.
Wow, that's a lengthy email, and thank you, Cecilia. All jokes aside for the email.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm going to get on my high horse about this. I'm Kurt. This is rant time here.
All right.
Can a person who is blind or vision impaired put a podcast up on, I think she meant Podcast Addict,
Yeah.
or, what did you say, a website? The very, very straight answer to that is yes, they can. As long as they, or you and your co-hosts, are willing to perhaps learn a little bit about certain different things, like, I guess it depends on what platform you're running. We kind of really need a little bit more information. We don't know if they're using WordPress or if they're using Drupal or what they're using, but as long as you're willing to put in a little bit of time and effort to learn whatever method suits you in getting the podcast up there, then absolutely, unequivocally, yes, you can do it. Don't know if you have much more to add to that or not, Kurt, but
No.
it's definitely possible.
No, I mean, I know we do it, so I know it can be done.
Now, we don't have a website per se. Well, we do have a website, but it's run by our podcast host. Now, that might be something that's easier for you to do as well. So, you can look up a whole bunch of different podcast hosts. Our current one is oh God, what is it? I've just had a brain fade. Transmitter, whatever it is, Transmitter, I think. That's terrible.
Transistor.
Transistor, there you go, Transistor. Thank you, Kurt. There's billions around. Buzzsprout is also a very good alternative. There's a whole bunch of them around where they will create the website for you and you just enter in different elements. Now, obviously, you're not going to have infinite control over what goes there because you can only control certain parts of the website, but that might be something that you look at doing instead if you're feeling very sort of overwhelmed with the thought of trying to use something like WordPress or Drupal to actually create a website. But it's definitely possible. There's many, many people that are doing it. And you've just given me an idea there, Cecilia. We might try and... I've got a contact that I've just come across on Clubhouse who's very much into creating websites. And I think their plan of attack is usually through WordPress. But I will have a chat to them about it and see if we might be able to get them in as a guest to talk about creating websites, which may well interest you. So stay tuned for that over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's definitely possible, and don't let yourself... I think it's very... I guess it's kind of a mentality maybe from where you are that sighted people tend to think that it's not, these things aren't possible, but really just push yourself and it can be done if you're willing to do a little bit of learning.
Yeah. And then it looks like we have obviously more traffic going on our mailing lists, but I'm not seeing any other emails directed specifically to our content.
I've got one here from the contact form, and I'll just go into it. So we've got 2 comments from our contact form. I'll quickly run through these. I enjoy your podcast, and over the last few months have learnt a lot about how to use web apps. With my screen reader of choice, NVDA. Very good. I would pay good money for a detailed tutorial on using a screen reader like NVDA with various web apps such as Google Docs, Sheets, etc., as individual tutorials or as a bundle. It is hard to imagine that nobody has produced such a tutorial yet, whereas everything is focused on Microsoft. I'll start the bidding at $25 per web app and $100 for a bundle.
Ooh.
E.g., Google Web Apps. And then this person goes on to say, a very engaging group with a deep understanding of technology. And that was from Anonymous. Well, there you go, Kurt. Something for you to mull over in terms of creating a tutorial. Sadly, I don't think that's going to happen. That would take a lot of work. And appreciate the fact that I completely get that you would love something like that to appear. the best thing to do in this situation, especially with a lot of these apps, and I think a lot of people are probably getting to the understanding when they're listening that a lot of them have very common shortcuts, very common, slash or question mark to get to keyboard shortcuts, etc. And the best thing to do is to turn, I think it's the cursor mode, is it? Cursor mode on in JAWS, insert Z, and I forget what the shortcut is for NVDA. Kurt, would you remember? Because I don't use NVDA that often.
Yeah, so on NVDA, you don't really have to turn off any kind of cursor. It just sort of does it by default.
Okay, well, that's good.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
You may have to turn off browse mode with the,
browse mode. That's what I was trying to think of.
NVDA plus space there, but
yeah. And
but
if you turn off browse mode, obviously, then you can use your question mark or slash in whatever web app that you're using, and most of them will have that's how you normally bring up the shortcuts for these things, and you'll be able to at least find out what they are, maybe take a note of what they are, and then utilize them, and you'll find that your experience should hopefully be a lot better.
Yeah.
Now we have one more here, Kurt. I think this is the last one. What's this person say here? Is very useful. That's it. Is very useful.
Oh, very
So,
good.
I don't know who that's from, but I'm very happy that you managed to get in contact with us, and we obviously can't write back to you, sadly, because there's no email address there. So, yes, very good. Thank you very much for the email. Now, I do believe, Kurt, that is all our emails for this week. We may have missed one, and if we have, we'll come back to it next week. So apologies if somebody else has written into us and we've missed it. We will get back to you in the next week or
Sure.
next episode 87. Of course, as Kurt said at the beginning, contact@blindtechguys.com is where you can get a hold of us. That's the best place to send us stuff through to, or you can go on the website and leave a web form submission, and we'll get back to you as well. But usually the best way to do it is via email. It's the quickest and the easiest way to get a hold of us. contact@blindtechguys.com. Of course, just a reminder also, and I haven't mentioned it all, podcast, but we do take donations here, large or small. It obviously helps us to continue running the podcast. And Kurt, I don't think we've had any for a little while. Although I did notice it was a bit barren. But if anyone enjoys the podcast, wants to keep it coming each and every week, and as Nimmer's mentioned in the past, and I've mentioned in the past, and Kurt's mentioned in the past, I think it costs somewhere between around $70 in total to keep this thing running per month. We definitely would appreciate your support. So check out our website, blindtechguys.com. where you can easily subscribe. Check out our YouTube, of course, which we're live on at the moment, and you can easily subscribe. But most importantly, check out the website for the donations. Very simple to give. It goes through Podfan, and all you have to do is choose your amount. There's tiers in there of joy where you can
Tears
what
of
amount
joy. Yay.
what amount suits you. And if you pick the highest one, I'll be very happy with your selection.
You'll be a happy, happy pooch.
I will be a happy, happy pooch. And Kurt, we've come to the end, and it's been a marathon. Geesh.
Absolutely. That was a long one.
Wow, I think that's one of our longest. So that
Without
was definitely
news
a long
articles even.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I'm very happy that we got rid of that at the beginning.
They will be in the show notes, though. So
They will definitely be in the show notes, and as per usual, this will come out as a podcast form in the next 24 to 48 hours. Check out if you're on Telegram, WhatsApp, however you're following us, you will be updated when it gets released. But Kurt, it's been an absolute pleasure as always.
absolutely.
And I guess we better go and say bon voyage to the listeners. But of course, we will be back next week, and we will be following up with some demos next week. I think what we'll do is we'll definitely demo Club Deck, and we will demo Clubhouse, just so that people have an idea of how to use it. We'll try and do Android and iPhone at the same time if we can, Kurt.
Yeah.
And we'll do Club Deck, and I've just got to figure out how I'm going to make this work, which I was trying to figure out this morning with a few people, but I think I've got an idea of how we can make this work. So, no promises that we can get the Club Deck demo to work with us being in a room and trying to get it all audio working, but we'll try our best.
We'll give it a shot anyhow.
We'll give it a shot. But we'll see how we go. And also a couple of other things that we obviously need to do, which came out of those emails, which we will demo next week.
Google Keep, yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely go through that as well. But thank you, listeners. And Kurt, we'll catch you next week.
Take care, everybody.